Should we start? Good morning. I think we are finished with our slides. So good morning, good evening, good day to everybody across the globe. Welcome to our webinar on integrated development of village cluster. I am Smita Siddhanti on the board of Wheels Global Foundation in USA. Greetings from Washington, D.C., which is where I am located. I'm also on the board of not only Wheels, but also on TIE. TIE is the Indus Entrepreneurs organization that is enhancing entrepreneurship across the globe. So I am myself entrepreneur and in DC running a company Andina that does environmental management and consulting to all the government agencies. But with that, welcome again. As we know that this is a very interesting topic and a very important one today and have great speakers. So I'm going to go quickly in terms of introductions here. But it's essentially, there are 3 million NGOs in India, and many of them are offering services around healthcare or water, education, and so forth. However, Wheels and other invited speakers of today's webinar, and many of us here, have realized that that the dependencies for good health on access to clean water, education, and nutrition, all of which is hard to provide without reliable energy and sustainable livelihood. These factors are all indeed interrelated. And the speakers today have adopted a holistic approach to development, which is the integrated approaches for holistic development of communities, with a view that such programs can only become sustainable if there is an economic interest for the targeted community. And there is an entrepreneurship at the core of these investments and these interventions, sorry. Also, as you will hear from our speakers, and it is the basic tenet of Wheels, is that technology is the enabler of highly scaled, repeatable solutions. If we need to scale anything, that technology is the enabler, and that's the basic. That's our basic tenet of Wheels, and you will hear from our speakers, which are high-level central and state government perspectives and priorities for inclusive development. We will hear about best practices, methodologies, opportunities, and challenges from the NGO perspective. And I am also going to talk about a case study of my own family that has worked for the last 70 years in Wardha under Magan Sangralaya Samiti. So with that, I want to introduce you about Wheels quickly, and I guess you all were looking at the slides before and know a lot more about it. Many of you have joined us before, but in any case, the Wheels Global Foundation, for those who are new, is an initiative of the alumni, IIT alumni across Pan IIT and IIT, across all the IITs in both the USA and India. The mission for Wheels is to offer technology solutions for water, healthcare, education, energy, livelihood, and sustainability. That's what Wheels stands for. We work collaboratively with many partners like IEEE, CII, Mission Samriddhi, and others. We are a volunteer organization and depend on generosity of our many donors, and who believe that scale can only be achieved by leveraging technology. You can get additional information about us on our website, wheelsglobal.org. And you saw a number of slides that were passing by if you were attending a few minutes before that. A quick disclaimer before the program is that all views expressed here are of the speakers in the webinar and not endorsed by the global board of Wheels, nor are they the opinions of Wheels. And now some housekeeping messages. So everybody, please keep yourself on mute. You'll all be on mute during the whole session. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. And if you want to contact any of us, raise your hand, and you can get our attention. I hope and this event is being recorded and will be available on our website, on our YouTube, and our Facebook. The questions from the audience will be curated and will be presented to the speakers as we go. So please put your questions in the chat box. I'm now pleased to introduce our moderator, Ambassador Pradeep Kapur, an alumnus of Delhi IIT, class of 77. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1979 and attained the rank of Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India in 2013. He served first as Indian ambassador to the Kingdom of Cambodia, later as ambassador to the Republic of Chile. His recent book has been Amazon's bestseller. It's Beyond COVID-19, Envisioning a Better World Through Technology. He had actually done a webinar on that. Some of you attended that. He's currently the executive director of Smart Village Development Program for Wheels Global Foundation. So there we go. Pradeep ji, take it from here. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Smita, for introducing the webinar and for introducing me today. First of all, I would like to mention that the situation in India is very grave, and we are all very concerned about it here in the US, in India, and globally, because it's a dire situation, but we are also very confident that the country, being as resilient as it is and having faced so many crises earlier, will come out of this catastrophic pandemic very soon. A lot of efforts are going on through Wheels and through the IIT alumni and through various, fora of Indian diaspora and the policymakers in the US and in so many countries to lend the most, required urgent assistance on a very expedited basis. We are receiving a lot of support and cooperation from our partners and collaborators in India in terms of the fact that, for example, recently 7,000 oxygen concentrators had to be sent by the Federation of American Physicians of Indian Origin. And we got the approvals from India for shipment within a matter of a couple of hours, free on board Air India. They landed there, customs cleared them in no time. So that sort of cooperation and collaboration has been very heartwarming, and we will continue expanding our efforts at this end. But our support and solidarity is with all our, family, friends, brethren, and the citizens of India. Now I will come back. It's a solemn occasion that we're having this webinar, but work has to go on, and we have to sort of not let it engulf us to the extent to get distracted, so that life moves ahead while solutions are found for the crisis. So Wheels is very proud to have been recognized by Niti Aayog as an official partner for technology transfer and entrepreneurship in December. Wheels also signed a formal MOU just a few months back with the Ministry of Panchayati Raj in the area of rural development. We were very proud to do that. And today we are very, very happy that we are joined by the Secretary of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj for delivering the opening remarks and then coming back to discuss on the basis of what the others have commented. Mr. Sunil Kumar, IAS 87 batch, UP Kada, is currently serving as Secretary, Ministry of Panchayati Raj in the Government of India. And we can understand the scale of his responsibilities very easily when you think about the population or the constituency that he has to serve is more than maybe 700 million people in the rural areas of India. Now, 700 million people is more than any other country other than China. All other countries are less than 700 million in the world. And if we put together the entire continent of North America and South America and count all their populations of all the countries, US, Mexico, Canada, and all the countries of Central America, Latin America, and South America and Caribbean, they still don't count up to 700 million. So that is a scale of the work that some of our very distinguished officers have to do. Just to put it in context, in the global context also, he did his master's in sociology from Department of Sociology in Delhi, School of Economics, Delhi School of Economics, Delhi University. He has served in the government of India for 13 years and in the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is the largest state of India, for about 21 years. Thank you very much, Secretary Saab, for joining us today. Each of our speakers will also be giving a brief introduction of their own organization's approach to the holistic and integrated smart village development frameworks. And we will then invite you, Secretary Saab, to please come back and give us your response also and comments to our approach so that we can be guided, and we will follow your directions, and then we will follow that also with some questions and answers from the audience. I will start now very briefly with a brief description about our own smart village development framework, where under the Wheels Global Foundation, we have adopted a cluster of 7 villages at the Aravalli district. So what we are trying out is a new experiment where we first wrote out a white paper to understand the context of what smart village development can be and what our vision of smart village should be. Now, Wheels having been founded on very noble platform, as many of us know and as some of us would have seen in the slide presentation, it was an initiative which was really sparked by an interaction with the President of India, Abdul Kalam, who, when he came to the US, spoke to the IIT alumni and told them that you guys are doing good work in your own fields, you have achieved a lot, and you continue to do absolutely phenomenal work for your karma bhumi. But you also need to do something for your janma bhumi and for the rural community of India. So that was a spark which lit the Wheels Foundation to come into existence. So continuing from there, it has gone a very long way, and I'm very proud to be associated with such a noble organization. We have now launched this, project, which is the Aravalli Smart Village Development Framework. Smart stands for S for sustainable and scalable, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for replicable, and T for leveraging technology for social impact and empowerment of the rural community. So smart village is a very different concept from smart cities. That is the first thing we have to understand, because we are asked this question quite a few times. I thought I should explain this here. The second aspect is that we have partnered with some very strong organizations on the ground in India, which are, for example, the Mission Samriddhi, which has a very large pan-India network, which is a very high quality partner with the National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj. And they do a lot of work in preparing the soil in the rural communities for Samriddhi Yatras and in so many other ways. So they are partnering with us in Aravalli and elsewhere and supporting us very strongly. Another strong management level partner is the IEEE, which is the Institution of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, the Integrated Smart Village Initiative of IEEE under the South Asia Working Group, led by Mr. Sanjay Patki from IIT Delhi, who is here with us today, who is one of the speakers, distinguished speakers on the panel later today. Then we have the Sarjan Foundation, which is in Gujarat, which is led by an IT entrepreneur and his wife, who's principal secretary in the government of Gujarat and is now chief secretary Puducherry, Dr. Jayanti Ravi, who's an outstanding scholar of rural development and rural empowerment and who has written many books which have been very widely appreciated, including Sehu, a book on Sehu, Symphony in Fraternity, of Fraternity in Symphony, which is about social empowerment for human upliftment and about how India is moving towards a zero defecation free country, besides many other achievements to her credit, which we are all very proud to be associated with such a fine officer. We also have the CII as our pan-India partners. We also operate very closely with the IIT ecosystem. What do I mean by the IIT ecosystem? The IITs by themselves, the IIT directors, the IIT faculty, the IIT students, we request them for doing a lot of research for any problems which are posed to us by any of the rural communities that we are working with, and ask them to find solutions which are appropriate, and we sponsor those researches. We also get their students to come to the villages where we work so that we put that little spark in their minds and in their hearts and in their lives so that they get interested in associating themselves with rural work, which they may come down to at some stage of their career, if not immediately. So that has been a very significant achievement also. Then we also associate with the IIT alumni. Now, what does IIT alumni ecosystem mean? We have the IIT alumni who are very senior CEOs all over USA and all over the world, the Indian diaspora. The IIT alumni who are very senior executives in a large number of NGOs and international NGOs all over the world, including in India. And the IIT alumni who are also in the government of India as IAS officers and as civil servants, who are partnering and helping us very significantly. So that is also part of our extended network, which helps us and which we are helping. Similarly, we also have the telemedicine operations on a pan-India basis, which we have launched recently, which is going very well and expanding its footprints day by day. We have a Wheels Water Council, which has been set up under the dynamic guidance of Mrs. Gauri Kumar, former IAS officer of the Gujarat CADA secretary. We have also support and collaboration going on with Sweri Pandarpur, the Vicente Ferrer Foundation, etc., on pan-India basis, Ekal, Pratham, etc. I won't go into those details for the sake of time. I will now
I think we
request
have to move
the
on.
chair to come back. Over to you. Take it on from here, Smita.
No, Pradeep ji, we need to have Sunil Kumarji be introduced and talked about.
Okay, thank you.
So we need to very quickly move
for his
on to
opening
that
remarks.
because we're already
That's
running
right. I
late.
did introduce the Secretary Saab Sunil Kumarji. May
Sunil
we
ji,
first
please.
request Sunil ji to please come in and give his opening remarks.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Thank you. Sunil ji, welcome. Can we get the camera to Sunil ji?
Seem to have lost the audio.
No, we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
So, okay. So I begin with my keynote address.
Please.
So good afternoon and good evening and good morning to all participants. I can see that 77 participants are currently logged in. It is a matter of pride to be associated with Wheels and the work that has been done and is being done. I suppose that is or holds a lot of meaning for all of us and especially for people living in rural areas. As Ambassador Kapur had mentioned, the mandate of Ministry of Panchayati Raj is huge. We after the way the 73rd Constitution Amendment Act, which brought in or set up the Panchayati Raj institutions, the three-tier Panchayati Raj institutions at the Gram Panchayat, Intermediate Panchayat, and District Panchayat level in the country, and which number over 2.5 lakhs and have more than 31 lakh elected representatives. Their working, their functioning, their strengthening, that is the mandate of this ministry. Over the years, a lot of change has happened. And all of us who have been working in the field, we are aware of those changes. These have happened, whether it is in the field of communication, whether it is in the field of electrification, whether it is in the field of transport and communication, road network, improvements in agriculture, livelihood, drinking water and sanitation, a whole lot has been achieved. In the last 6 years, we have done phenomenal work in making the country open defecation free. Similarly, in the next 2 years, by 2024, we are looking at or aiming at providing piped drinking water supply to all households in rural areas. In the next 3 years, all villages are going to be linked through optical fiber cable network. We have a very strong ecosystem through the common service centers, which are present in 2.61 lakh Gram Panchayats as on date. And they are playing a phenomenal role in providing digital connectivity to the villages. As far as the panchayats are concerned, almost all panchayats are now digitally connected. Nearly 2 lakh panchayats are making online payments, digital payments by using the public financial management system of the government. The Gram Panchayat development plans, which are being prepared by all Gram Panchayats through a special campaign run for over 3 months between 2nd October to 31st December normally, and which are all uploaded on the website e-Gram Swaraj portal of the ministry. Apart from that, we also have Mission Antyodaya, wherein the status of physical infrastructure in each Gram Panchayat is mapped every year. And based on that, the Gram Panchayats are ranked, and that provides a basic input to the Gram Panchayats and the Gram Sabha when they are formulating their Gram Panchayat development plan. As we are all aware, through the 73rd Constitution Amendment Act, 29 subjects have been transferred to the Panchayati Raj institutions. And these cover 18 departments of the central and state government. The primary focus remains, or the challenges which remain, basically relate to the field of education, health, drinking water and sanitation, reliable energy supply, nutrition, and how to make these Gram Panchayats sort of drivers of economic growth. This is where we stand today. The challenge before us is that despite all our achievements in various fields, the challenges which are there are still considerable. While a lot of people have been taken over the poverty line, but most of them, they are just hovering near the poverty line, just above or below. And it is expected, and many people fear, many experts fear, that because of the sort of disturbances which have been caused by this COVID pandemic, a whole lot of these people may be falling below the poverty line and again falling in the trap of poverty. So this is a huge problem before us. Similarly, there is the problem of hidden unemployment, because although the contribution of agriculture to India's GDP is roughly in the region of around 14 to 15%, but the number of people who are engaged in agriculture still remains in almost 60 to 63%. Growth of service sector in the rural areas, while it has happened, it has still not been to the extent as it has been in the metro cities. Manufacturing has also seen a decline in rural areas rather than an upswing. And as was mentioned, supply of reliable energy, cheap energy, affordable energy is extremely important if economic breakthrough has to come about. So there technology, the role of technology comes in. For improving the quality of healthcare, improving the quality of education, technology can play the role of force multiplier. Even with limited resources, through use of technology, a whole lot of things can become available. So as was mentioned, or as is sort of the basic mandate of Wheels Foundation, it is important that technology is used in a big way to solve these issues relating to sectors of health, education, nutrition, livelihood, energy, etc. And there we feel that there's a whole lot that can be done in support and in cooperation with agencies like Wheels Foundation. At the same time, we also feel that the amount of money that is going to the panchayats is considerable by way of devolution of funds based on Central Finance Commission and State Finance Commission recommendations and under various schemes of Government of India. The challenge now is that how these can be used to attain sustainable development goals relating to these sectors which we have mentioned, and how it is not just focused on some projects which are to be completed, but also on what would be the outcome of those interventions. And it is in this context, and all these issues are well understood by almost all the participants here. And because basically all of you are technology providers, I'm sure the appropriate technology, which is feasible, which is affordable by the local community, and which can be handled by them after the technology provider has withdrawn from the scene. These solutions can be offered and can be sort of implemented. And in a diverse country like India, there will be host of models which will be available and which can be worked upon. If these interventions are to be sustainable, panchayats, which is a constitutional body, the third tier of governance, those will need to be integrated. And those will need to be made through the panchayats. Local community will need to be made stakeholders in this development process. There can be various models in which this can be achieved, but yes, those need to be explored and worked upon. Financing models will need to be carefully looked into, because it cannot be the development of 2.5 lakh gram panchayats cannot happen based on just donations and grants received from various quarters. People will need to step in. And my experience is that people are willing to pay the money, provided they are sure about the credibility of the institution or the agency, and they have confidence that the solutions which are being offered will work in the field. So these are the challenges which will be there. But at the same time, we also have to be conscious of the fact that when we are making these interventions, we should put across to the local community the various options which are there, and the choice of technology, choice of option should be left to the local community to accept and adopt. And I'm sure when they will do that, the issue of affordability, the issue of sustainability, all these factors will be looked into. Another point, which to my mind is very important, is the issue of equity. We believe, technologists believe, technocrats believe that technology is neutral, but in reality, it may not be so. So how technology will become available to even the weakest sections of society and will improve their lot will be a major challenge. They should not be left out of the development process and the fruits of development which will flow. The other most important thing is that the panchayats or the cluster of gram panchayats, a vision of what their gram panchayat should or ought to look like 20 years down the line or 25 years down the line. If the local community owns up that dream, they will work for it. It should not be that I am bringing bring about this change of total holistic development. We have to put before the local community what changes, what vision of what their village or panchayat will look like. And once this vision is accepted, then I am sure all other steps will follow. So at this point of time, I will conclude my intervention by saying that technology is the means, that vision of Gram Panchayat 25 years down the line, that should be the end. All sustainable development goals, which have a great bearing on the lives of the people, those should be accepted and adopted by the local community. Everything cannot be achieved in one go. They should be able to pick and choose what works for them, what they want on top priority. And as solution providers, we should be helping the local community to attain their goals. And I'm sure there's a lot that we can do in this together. We in the government, we look forward to new ideas, new solutions emerging from people outside government, whether it is through Wheels Foundation or various NGOs or other institutions. And then we partner with the panchayats and take this forward and ensure that all-round development takes place, which is inclusive, equitable, and wherein everyone is a stakeholder. Everyone is a stakeholder, a sort of eligible to receive the dividends of development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sunilji. This was awesome. I hope everybody got the message. This is a call for action from the government, and this first time we've seen that so well organized in terms of the whole clusters and Panchayati Raj and Panchayat system that has been strengthened through financial contribution from the government and asking all the other partners to join in to make the positive change through technology as well as through education to the rural communities. What I really wanted to ask Sunilji, we certainly will be asking more questions at the end, but I do want to know from you that given that the strengthen of that the whole implementation of this depends on the people's movement or the Panchayati Raj, panchayats being very strong. What are we doing what are our efforts to outreach, to educate them for their strength of what they have are empowered, A, in financially, and B, how are they supposed to know how well educated they are to make the plans that they're making? Because we're talking about 250 lakhs, you said, panchayats, and not everyone is equally equipped, right, across the country. So I'm sure there are models that are coming up to not only have clusters, but also have other ways of helping them to make their plans to move forward.
Yeah, here I would like to mention that the Gram Panchayat Development Plan, as we call it, that we have issued framework, guidelines, and the government officials at the district and the village level, they guide them when in the preparation of these plans. All panchayat functionaries, the moment they are elected, we have a big scheme called Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, where training is provided to them on various aspects of local governance. And that includes special sort of modules for preparation of Gram Panchayat Development Plan itself. Here again, I would be frank to acknowledge that we find wide variations in the quality of Gram Panchayat development plans. In states like Kerala, Karnataka, to an extent Maharashtra, we find the quality of the Gram Panchayat development plan is sort of different, because a whole lot of things can be done which find a place in Gram Panchayat development plan, which don't really require funding from government or any other source, which can be done by the villagers themselves through behavioral change, through local participation. But in most places, people believe that, say, if they are getting 1,000 rupees, with that 1,000 rupees, what can be done, that should find a place in the plan. And there, according to their needs, they have been focusing on drinking water, They have been focusing on internal roads, internal drains, street lights, and such physical infrastructure. Mission Antyodaya survey, which is carried out, as per that report, now we find that almost 80% of the Gram Panchayats, the internal road network, those have been sort of upgraded to cement concrete roads. Drains are also now there, and by and large, those are there. Similarly, the percentage of street lights, which have been sort of established, that is also there. But the expenditure on health and education is not as much as we would like them to be. So now the challenge before us is that in these Gram Panchayat development plans, how to shift them from the easier aspects of development work, that is creation of physical infrastructure, to some of these more sort of non-physical aspects, say quality of education, attempting sort of reduction in malnutrition levels in the Gram Panchayat, taking measures relating to public health, how through community interventions, vector-borne diseases can be reduced, waterborne diseases can be reduced. These things need to be factored in, and people need to be sort of guided that these are the areas where you now need to focus upon. And here you would need technology, here you would need solution providers, people who can give ideas to them and who are actively engaged with them. It is there that the role of Wheels Foundation and other agencies, those become very important.
Excellent. That's exactly right. And that's where other NGOs and everyone can play a role with you. So no, thank you very much. We'll come back to you at the end with questions. I will now move on to the next speaker. Really pleased to invite Dr. Sundar Kamath. And Dr. Kamath is a Senior Vice President and CTO of Sanmina Corporation. It's an $8 billion NASDAQ-listed Silicon Valley company. He joins us from, he's joining us from San Francisco area. Dr. Kamath is, by the way, their companies in 24 countries and including design centers all over the world. And a campus in Chennai, which supports Make in India. For the past 6 years, has been collaborating with NGOs, corporates, academic institutions, and social impact programs on the Ideal Village project, which aims to enable self-sustaining rural communities using appropriate technology. Very close to our heart here in what we want to be propagating and doing. So he's actually conducting these things, and he's going to talk more about that. He's also an co-organizer of the Global Ideal Village Conference, which happens in Stanford University for the last 4 years, and that's a new initiative that is that's commendable, and it's focused on basic needs: clean water, healthcare, education, energy, sanitation, and livelihoods. Wheels has also participated in that with Dr. Kamath. Please refer to his bios in our banner. And with that, about his illustrious career. With that, Dr. Kamath, please, love to hear from you.
Thank you, Smita, and thank you, Wheels Global Foundation, for giving me this opportunity. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see it. This is, of course, the message here is consistent with what the speakers have said so far. What's important in integrated village development is collaboration, holistic solutions, and sustainability. And there's tremendous power in collaboration because there's so many organizations working in this area. So this is, I'll talk more about this. Sustainability, I'll emphasize because we should not repeat the mistakes of what's happened in urban development in rural areas. We have to make sure that we preserve the values of the rural areas as well as the agriculture and so on. And that's very important. And then finally, we've talked about holistic solutions because if you do only one aspect of the need and you don't attend to the rest of it, there are issues that happen, so it has to be holistic. So going on to collaboration, as Smita mentioned, we started the Ideal Village Conference at Stanford University in 2016 with my co-chair, Dr. Kanwaljit Singh Anand, who's a professor of medicine at Stanford. And we have a unique theme each year. So the first year was innovation. And when we say innovation, we're talking about being in Silicon Valley. What are those technologies that can be brought into the rural area for benefits? Second is collaboration, extremely important. The third year, we focused on the empowerment of women, a major challenge and a major issue that has to be addressed. Fourth year was CSR, corporate social responsibility, and I'll talk more about this later. And finally, in October last year, we talked about sustainability and the pandemic. And all of these conference proceedings, talks are available on the website, Science for Society, which is given at the end. It's been remarkable how this conference has brought together lots of experts, organizations, and has been a great forum for collaboration. So I would encourage these kind of meetings to happen in India, given the amount of work that's going on in these areas. Just to illustrate, when you look at the participation in these conferences, in all the different tracks, we have literally the who's who of companies, organizations, including Wheels Global Foundation, had several speakers last year, and major foundations like the Gates Foundation, the WHO, companies like TCS, for example, from India, Apollo Hospitals from India, and then local Silicon Valley companies as well. And then many, many organizations from an NGO perspective. So this is a very powerful forum that I would encourage to be held in the Indian context to bring together different organizations. And then I want to share a little bit about some of the partners that we have. On the left side here, this is the Shri Sai Healing Trust in Chennai. Their focus has been in healthcare for the last 10 plus years, working in government schools, rural areas in different districts and states of India. And currently their focus is on bringing the Ideal Village program to 400 villages in 4 states with 9 clusters. On the right, it's the Annapurna Breakfast Program, which was started about 6 years ago, and today serves 500,000 children in India, in 6,000 schools in 17 states. And this is a very, very important mission because so many children who attend government schools do not get any breakfast in the morning, and they wait for the midday meal. But the breakfast happens to be the most important meal for them because it impacts cognitive skill development and their physical development. So this is a program which, both of these programs are ones that could certainly collaborate with the Wheels Global Foundation going forward. Another partner that we have is the maternal and child health. Huge focus on delivering healthy babies, and that means having healthy mothers. So this organization has been screening children, advising mothers, providing nutrition, providing medication, covering over 100,000 children screened in 1,500 schools and Anganwadis, 40,000 mothers in 6 states. And then the last example I want to include here is education. On the education side, each One Educate One Foundation has been focusing on promoting rural campuses based really on the Gurukul system of holistic values-based integral education, which emphasizes universal human values and balances academics, sports, arts with universal spirituality. And the key focus there is character building as the end objective, and a sense of duty for the students towards their own villages. So almost 20 different campuses have come up in Karnataka, and if we can emulate this model across other states, this focuses on educating the rural children, especially girl children. Now, on the corporate side, the company that I work for, we have a large plant in Chennai on the outskirts. in Kanchipuram district in a town called Oragadam as part of the special economic zone. So there we have collaborated with the Shri Sai Healing Trust to provide health screening for 19 rural government schools around the Sanmina plant. And then also we have a mobile medical clinic that goes around covering almost 50 villages in the Kanchipuram district area. And I think companies, US companies and other companies are doing a lot of work, but I think getting these programs organized and doing them in a well coordinated way can have a tremendous impact. And we've seen this in the villages here. So what are some of the lessons that we've learned from these programs over the last 5 years? Starting at the top, data collection and understanding the needs of the village, getting the profile, very important. So that's the starting point. The planning has to be outcome driven with goals that meet expectations. Inclusivity is extremely important. There are diverse groups within the village of different income status and so on. Everyone needs to be part of this program. We cannot leave anyone behind. Inclusivity is extremely important, whether it's women, whether it's low income groups and so on. Collaboration, as I mentioned, is essential with the village leadership, the Panchayati Raj, and the local leaders, local stakeholders, as well as the NGOs and the corporates and the academic institutions. So the collaboration piece makes a big difference. Consistency in delivery, working with the village. It cannot be a sporadic, random effort. It has to be consistent. They have to see that this is really serious for the participants and that we will deliver the services on a consistent basis. Managing the resources and smart allocation towards the goals so that we don't have breaks of delivery service. That's also extremely important. And finally, as part of the feedback loop, monitoring what's happening, collecting data, evaluating the effort in a quantitative, qualitative way as well is important. So the message here is that participants, organizations that work in rural development must know that village. They must be connected to the village. There has to be regularity and involvement in the village. And the power is in the participants getting involved. So finally, I believe, frankly, and we all feel this way, that India can become a global model for rural development. And what that means is that we have so many projects going on. Let's identify the successful implementations in each of these areas of water, health, and so on. Let's create centers of excellence around these success models, disseminate this information, share it with the Panchayati Raj leaders, hold conferences as a forum for knowledge sharing, collaboration, define a well-organized implementation methodology, a process model, and the kind of teams that need to work on it. And then scale these models, not just with the government support, but with the CSR mandate. I think there's tremendous muscle in the CSR mandate that needs to be exercised. So I'm putting out a goal here. Let's create 1,000 of these ideal smart villages in the next 4 years by taking, say, 100 villages in 10 Indian states with 100 companies and organizations working together. And also, I think the 4 elements that I've defined at the corners here: collaborative ecosystem, national rural database, Invest Rural India mission, and also rural development institutes. So with that, I will stop here, Smita.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sundar. That was awesome. Very good to hear the activities that are going on and also how we can all collaborate together to make things happen. My next speaker, I've got to move on because I'm really short of time here. We're kind of running ahead of we have really lost some time here. So we'll come back to you with questions, and let me introduce you to the next speaker from IEEE that we just mentioned is one of our major partners for Wheels. And I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Sanjay Patki. He is not only holds a BE in electrical engineering from Bits Pilani, an MTech in Power Systems from IIT Delhi in 77. He's currently Vice President of IEEE Smart India and Smart Village, actually, and chair of the South Asia Working Group. And he has more than 40 years of experience in power generation and is the recipient of many awards, including the Central Board of Irrigation and Power, and is recognized as distinguished member of the International Council on Large Electrical Systems in Paris. Over to you, Sanjay. Let's listen from him.
Sanjay, thank you, Smita ji. Thank you, Smita ji. Yeah. And thank you to Wheels Global Foundation for giving this opportunity to share our experience in the areas of rural development. I would try to describe how IEEE is handling this challenge, which was outlined by Sunil Kumar ji in his opening address, emphasizing that rural India should be the major contributor of economic growth in the future growth of India. And this sort of economic growth should be scalable and sustainable. That is basically the key theme. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? Just for those who are not familiar with IEEE, IEEE is Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and this basic objective is advancing technology for humanity. Next slide. It's the largest organization of technical professionals, more than 400,000 members across 160 countries. It operates through technical societies, which are 39 in number, and they cover almost all the domain of electrical and electronics engineering. Next slide. So you can see here, in terms of electrical and electronics engineering, almost every domain has been covered in terms of evolving technologies, applying them, creating standards and guidelines for implementation. Next slide. IEEE Smart Village is a initiative of IEEE through their IEEE Foundation. Basically, it works to fund the local organization, partnering with the communities for improving their quality of life. And we use the approach of energy, education, and enterprise as the three pillars of our implementation strategy. As technical team, we provide mentorship, monitoring, and learning environment to all the stakeholders in the development. And we have close connection with the community member who will be the ultimate beneficiaries of the solutions which are provided. Next. This slide shows the spread of the IEEE initiative. Started with Africa. You can see number of locations. Then India, South America, North America, and China are the other regions which have been recently initiated. Next. As I said, these are the three basic pillars on which we approach the rural development. First is energy, especially the renewable energy sources, which is part of the distributed and dispersed energy strategy. We consider as an enabler for the economic development, which is also made possible through education. In the opening remarks, Sunil Kumar ji did mention about the digital connectivity. We take advantage of digital connectivity to provide the required vocational training, business training, and also tele-education opportunities to build their skill. And the outcome of this education pillar is the enterprise. So the entire approach to livelihood and the income generation is through enterprise model, which is like a business model rather than a charity model, and it encompasses all needs of the local communities, and we provide tailor-made solutions to address those needs. Yeah, next. Um, Basically, we have a very close connect with the community as well as the applicant, who is the local entrepreneur or local organization. It can be any implementation agency, it could be NGO, or it could be group of community members. And we have regional working groups of IEEE members. So these three basic entities interact with each other to arrive at the needs of the community and what are the appropriate solution to address those needs. Depending on the strengths of the NGOs and the local organizations, we solicited proposals from them and then also guide them in terms of implementation. Next. Technology is part of the solution, and what we find from our experience is that the solution which need to be provided has to be appropriate to the needs. Any over design in terms of capacity would unnecessarily increase the cost, and it will affect the affordability of the villagers. Similarly, if you under design, then you will not be able to serve the aspirations of the people. So we start the connect with the community through appropriate partners and understand the needs, and then provide the technology solution which is most appropriate for their need. In 2018, India had declared that all villages are electrified, and there is a plan to uh, have electrification of all households by 2022. If this is to be achieved, um, laying the transmission and distribution wires right up to household will not only involve um, capital investment, very large capital investment, but technically also it results into poor performance of the distribution system. So the solutions which we provide is basically distributed. They are also dispersed because many hamlets are spread around a village, and laying wires becomes difficult. So we design portable or local solar solutions, and develop the applications which are uh, not only giving livelihood, it will increase the income. Because what our experience is, villagers are not just interested in getting electricity, but they want productive use of the electricity so that their income level will go up. These are some of the photographs of implementation which we have done in India as well as globally. Yeah. One example is the remote region of Ladakh, where the monasteries, you can see the photograph, were lighted with the microgrid solution with the solar photovoltaic technology. Next slide. These are some of the other implementations, including enabling the villagers to build their crafts in a more technically sound manner through use of digital connectivity and training for developing the new products which can be marketed. So market access can be created for them using the digital technology, and they can thereby raise their income level. Next slide. Similarly, there are a variety of solutions, including using biomass for various applications, transportation, um, lighting up of homes. Yeah, next slide. Ambassador Kapur had mentioned the Aravalli project in Gujarat, where IEEE is collaborating with the Wills Global Foundation to provide different types of solution for the holistic development of the entire region. Next slide. These are the various projects executed worldwide. The key learnings for us is basically the community, engaging with the community even before the preparation of the concept note is necessary. This enables us to design the solution in much more precise manner, so that cost and the scale can be optimized. Second thing is, you need to build a business model which will ensure the financial viability and sustainability of the solution. And in order to have the financial viability, we need to have mix of customers which are paying customers, as well as they are commercial and local micro enterprises running in the villages, as well as the domestic consumer. And to build solutions which are efficient, and they are offered with reliability, safety, and with quality. We have partnership with various institutions in India to provide the right size, the correct technology, as well as the correct way of implementation. Third is, in terms of business execution model. Again, we need to have a careful uh, mix of partners as well as participation from the villages. As it was mentioned by Sunil Kumarji, there can be various models. Gram Panchayat can be stakeholder, or village committee can be stakeholders, or there could be a local enterprise mixed with other NGOs who will do handholding with them, so that the execution is done in a manner which is efficient, as well as once you hand over the project to the community entity, the project will run in a viable manner. The finally, in terms
Sanjay ji,
of
time check, please.
yeah,
Time check. Yeah.
and finally, just to ensure the business continuity after the project is handed over, we do approve funding only after the business plan has been submitted in a manner which will make it viable. So that's a approach which IEEE has been using, and we have implemented it in various parts of the world and also in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Sanjay ji, for those remarks. Those were extremely useful. And I'm sure we will discuss some of the concepts further during our dialogue with the secretary. But before that, I am now going to request for a very interesting intervention by our chairperson, Dr. Smita Siddhanti, to relate briefly her own family's, experience of creating a smart village in Varda, where her father, a devotee and a contemporary of Mahatma Gandhi, and who was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi to do the phenomenal work he went on to accomplish in Varda, and that work which is still being carried on by the family, by Smita's sister, Abha Gupta. Over to you, Smita. Take it on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the intro, Pradeep ji. Let me quickly correct a few things here. So again, I'm Smita, you know that. I am not the right person to be speaking about it. I live in Washington, D.C., but I've been associated with this work in Varda for last 50 years or more. My father, as you said, was not the contemporary of Gandhiji. It was after Gandhiji. He joined. He probably never met Gandhiji, but he was what was Bits Pilani then, and then joined Kumarapaji, who was Gandhiji's economist from London. He had started this whole concept called economy of permanence. Before I even go to any of this, I just want to put the context that what we just heard from both the three main speakers is at a very high level of organization in various ways of our ideal village cluster or smart village clusters, or how to different models of approach. The model of approach that I'm going to introduce you is a little more it's more focused on how to enhance rural economy, and it is based on the principles of economy of permanence, which means a long sustainable economic growth by local people, by local resources, by local talent, and how to enhance that more for economic enterprises. And that was the whole idea on which the Gandhian principle of economy of permanence started. And Gandhiji was himself responsible for building this museum called Magan Sangrahalaya in Wardha. He made that museum to showcase rural enterprises and how they can be assisting the economic growth. So we are teaching people how to fish rather than giving them the fish, right? So that's the whole concept here. So my father, Dr. Devendra Kumar, was also an economist and a technologist who joined this place in after independence, and then in late 1976, after his career in Delhi and elsewhere, started this institute called Center of Science for Villages in Wardha. And that is under the aegis of Magan Sangrahalaya Samiti, MSS. And then my sister, who did her PhD from IIT Delhi and studied in Delhi University and abroad, went back to Wardha and joined him to enhance that work of CSV, Center of Science for Villages, and is continuing to be the director of Magan Sangrahalaya Samiti. And they are doing tremendous work for last 50 years or so. So instead of focusing on all their bigger work, if you can go back to the very first slide, Girish, sorry, you moved on to the last one. I just want to quickly showcase the guiding principles. They are the guiding people to self-sufficiency, catalyzing policy initiatives, and transforming rural life with technology. That is the essence of this. And the idea was to get all the innovations that are happening in national labs across the country, that how to bring scientific principles to professions, and how to bring processes to professions and technology to trade. So essentially, that's what's happening there, is we are creating enterprises. So go ahead to the next slide, and I'm just going to run through enterprises. For the major focus of the area is livelihood and rural enterprise, watershed management and sanitation, rural affordable eco-friendly housing, and natural farming, and they're also a hub of the National Rural Artisan Development, which is a national center for a national organization for artisans. And then so these are the various self-help groups that we are working with. There are about 1,200 rural women were mobilized. 12,000, and then and there are 1,005 self-help groups in 125 villages. And these are the groups of women that I've been associated with for several years. And they have their own independent units, and they're running those units. And I can tell you that by going there every year, I can see the difference in the faces of women, the confidence in them, and the same women I've met every year, and I've taken pictures of this. I can tell you that has impacted their own economies, and all the men and the village folk have assisted with them. So they have a model, obviously, that they have developed that's of successful self-help groups. So the next slides show you the various enterprises, the agro-based enterprises that are organic seed banks and manure and organic vegetables, and go on and on in terms of agro-based products that they've developed. There are about 250 products that they're trying to sell all over. And then there's food-based enterprises with pickles and jams and solar dried fruit, fruit bars, and organic food restaurants. Their organic cafe is doing extremely well, and that also enhances all the sustainable products from organic farming. And natural farming is the next one that I think is part of their whole essence of enhancing a natural farming, getting the farmers to bring and creating a sustainable chain. There are forest-based enterprises that are collection of the forest produce. Lantana is one of the products that they, one of the trees that through which they're making all kinds of furniture, as you see on the right side, and selling it. So I wouldn't go much detail on that. I'm very cognizant of time here. Their whole herbal products are a very big There's a whole soaps and oils, and there's a whole stuff of beauty products that have come up with. And next one, we can go through quickly. The next slide. On textile, there's a whole natural dyeing, natural processes of making khadi fabric, handmade, and it's one of the only places where they're making khadi t-shirts, and it's an amazing technology to go see how well they have and how much they're helping all the 24 hours of women coming and actually working in these places are getting livelihoods. And these are models, actually. These are just the models to be replicated. So I can't get into all that in the short period of time. The next one is, go ahead, and the utility product enterprises. There are all kinds of paper products and fly ash block bricks and prefabricated cement building elements that are amazing to see, and women especially taking over. That is amazing. Every time I go back, I'm surprised at how much work and how advanced that they have become in their production systems. So the next, I can go on and on, but I think because of short period of time, I just want to say that these are the models that need to be taken on. This is where the replication has to happen at a larger scale by the public-private partnerships that Sunilji, you were talking about, is how we can enhance these centers of excellence to be replicated. So I would stop there, and I gave you the connection of Dr. Vibha Gupta, or connect with me, anyone who wants to learn more about it, and their website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Smitaji. That was absolutely phenomenal to hear about all the work being done for women empowerment and rural empowerment in a very holistic manner, end to end, upstream, downstream. So congratulations for all the great work. Now I see that there are a large number of comments, on the chat box, large number of questions. And what is very heartening for me today is to see the level of the participants themselves and the work that they have been doing. And so many of you, almost all of you, could be speakers on these webinars. You have done such outstanding work, and we are very happy to learn about the great work you're doing. Now, before we get to those questions and the comments, what I would like to request Secretary Saab is to respond very briefly to the many ideas and thoughts. I know it will take a long time, otherwise it could be a new webinar by itself. But if Secretary Saab, you can please respond to the many ideas and comments expressed by the panel, and we will follow that with a very short question and answer session and discussions. Over to you.
I'd also request all the speakers to put on their cameras now so we can have some discussion here. Thank you.
Now, the points which have been made by different speakers, panelists, they broadly fit into the overall scheme of things that we have in mind. The modalities through which those technology interventions can be executed. We in the ministry feel that yes, there is a place for all these models, and given India's diversity and different stages in which panchayats are sort of located, different models will work in different places. So that point is well taken. And we believe that, yes, ultimately, it should be a business model. It should be something wherein the local institution, it could be the panchayat, it could be the local entrepreneurs, it could be the local self-help groups. All these could be made stakeholders in these various interventions which are proposed to be made. So on that score, I am in agreement with what has been said by either Mr. For the ideal village or for the smart village by IEEE. So, and the work that is being done, we believe that yes, government, because if it has to be scaled up, even 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, it's not going to really make any difference. When we are looking at more than 600,000 villages located in 2.5 lakh gram panchayats, that's a huge number. And therefore, partnership with government is absolutely imperative. How that can be worked out, there we are open to ideas and suggestions. What has been done here, what others are doing in the field, if those come up to us, and if say Wheels Foundation or various, they come up or they give, or we receive some inputs from them, then what we can promise is that with the concerned state governments, will make them also a partner in this, and we can tie up them up so that various clusters can be taken up for development. Already for the preparation of model GPDPs, we have identified more than 250 sort of districts wherein these model GPDPs will be prepared. And that National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, NIRDPR in Hyderabad, that is coordinating that. So they cover virtually all the states and important locations. If in those clusters, and it is not one gram panchayat, it's a cluster of gram panchayats. So if those clusters are taken up, and where you already have a sort of local person who would be available, who is trained, who is sort of selected from either a Tata Institute of Social Sciences or some other university, and who has received training and who would be working in that cluster for the next 2 years and would be coordinating with the district as well as the state authorities and the ministry. That can form a very sort of good starting point where all these ideas can be taken up. And as I had mentioned, these success stories need to be documented. Mission Samriddhi is also doing a very good exercise in this field. And I'm sure under this Ideal Village program, what was mentioned that 1,000 villages they will be taking up in 10 states over the years. I'm sure once those are documented, those lists are shared with us, we can make our elected panchayat representatives undertake exposure visits in these gram panchayats, in these clusters of villages, and seeing is believing. They will then draw suitable ideas from them, from these successful implementation models, and then they will try and implement them in their own panchayats. So that can be very easily worked out within the existing schemes of the ministry and the state government, and through involvement of national NIRDPR and the state institutes of rural development and Panchayati Raj department. So these are ideas where we need to take it forward. So as I see it, a lot of the ideas which have come from them, we would be obliged to Wheels Foundation if they can cull out some of these 4, 5, 7 or 10 implementation points. And then we can sit together and work out as to how we'll take it, carry it forward, bring more, involve the state governments and the state agencies and the district administrations also in this entire process. And then that will really set the ball rolling. So that is my take on what I could understand from what the panelists are doing and what the manner in which we can take it forward. Thank you.
Sunilji, you have given us a great step to work on. I think Wheels, Pradeepji, you'll agree that Wheels will really take up that challenge, as you just said, and cull out these initiatives. And that's where we are a catalyst to make that happen. And we'll certainly like to work with you to scale up these successful efforts and use them as the center of excellence, or whatever we call it, to build that momentum that the government has started. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Pradeep, is there any?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Secretary Saab. It has been very inspiring, your participation here, your comments, your thoughts, your vision. And it shows a very clear path ahead for all of us, not just the panelists, but all the attendees and participants who have shown a lot of interest and given so many comments. Before we go on further, what I'd like to request all the panelists who are here is to look at the large number of takeaways which we have put on the Jamboard link, which is there in the chat. I think I can request the takeaway, our colleague, Dr. Kavita Kapur, to put that link to all the participants also, attendees also. Share the link with the attendees so that they can see all the takeaways directly. So because we, for lack of time, we do not have the flexibility to discuss the takeaways in detail. But as you have very rightly mentioned, Secretary Saab, it needs further deliberation, discussion, and decisions. So I will request my colleagues in the Wheels Foundation also, and in IEEE and Ideal Village, Mission Samriddhi, and all the others. Even from this session itself, the questions and the takeaways, if we sort of have a brainstorming session, and then we pose them to the secretary and his team as to what are the ways that we can then take the next steps. That will be very useful. And Secretary Saab, if you permit me very briefly, I'd like to just answer some of the points because we are just a couple of minutes short of concluding.
Pradeep ji, one question quickly.
Yes,
Where
yes.
can people find that after the session, the jam, whatever you said? Where
We
can
have already
people
put
go
the
to that?
link on the, okay, after the session, we will put it on the website. I guess
Right.
all the takeaways as they are.
So wheelsglobal.org is where
Yes,
everybody can
yes.
check. Thank you.
Wheelsglobal.org will be where it is. Now, Mr. Vijay Jain has asked a very interesting question, which is right after my heart. He has said, as an individual, how can I participate in Panchayati Raj system at the lowest level as a volunteer? We have absolutely the right solution for you, Jain Saab, if you are still on this call. As a Parivrajak, you can participate with Wheels Global Foundation in Aravalli. Mr. Rakesh Jain is here. Please put your contact details on the chat box. We will reach out to you and rope you in to start working as a Parivrajak at the earliest possible. And Parivrajak is, I don't want to get into those details again because of time factor, but we will explain it offline. Then there is another question about the water table going down and down and down in many, and it's specifically mentioned, but I don't want to get into the specifics of it. But I mean, it's a very dire situation, yes. We have the Water Council, which has been set up under the chairmanship of Mrs. Gauri Kumar. She's here in this session, IAS, Gujarat Kada, former Secretary, Government of India. So you can enter into a direct dialogue with her. That will be useful. There are lots of other questions on panchayat-based institutions, etc. But that will require a whole new webinar to tackle those questions in this short time. What I would say is, the Secretary Sab, we have lots of institutions like NRD and so many others, IRMA, etc. If we also think of putting together a global institute of development with Ministry of Panchayati Raj and the Wheels as the primary partners, and all our partners coming together from India and the world to make it as a center of institute of eminence, not just excellence, and bring together all the learnings under one head. That may be also one of the suggestions which I am thinking aloud, which we can discuss in detail with you later. But we would appreciate your response to that also. Now, what I'm going to do in interest of time is just request the speakers, beginning with the reverse order now, Mr. Sanjay Patki, then Mr. Sundar Kamath, and then the speaker, the Secretary of Ministry of Panchayati Raj, to say in just a minute as to what are your concluding thoughts after this very, very useful session today.
I
Just
just
in a
want to
few
make sure
seconds or so.
everybody knows it's 11:31. We were
Yes.
supposed to end at 11:30, so please stay a few more minutes. We'll really appreciate all the attendees if they can accommodate us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry we cannot get into the questions by all the participants, which we will try to tackle separately. And we'll takeaways also. Many times we discuss the takeaways in the session, but today we don't even have time for that. Unfortunately, there are a very large number of takeaways. Dr. Kavita Kapur has shared the link on the chat box. Please log on to that and look at those takeaways. Over to you, Sanjay. Take it on.
Yeah, I would like to just state that the entrepreneurship approach as compared to charity and grant would be more sustainable. And if this business like approach is to be applied to a cluster because of the economies of scale, I think number of gram panchayats and the communities coming together is something which should be explored. On the model of a nodal agency, you have a public private partnership at the nodal agency level, which will work in sync with the gram panchayat and the government policies to implement the model for a cluster. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pradeep ji. Two specific things I would recommend. One is let's form a core working group based out of this meeting and anyone else. Then secondly, let's have a follow-up session like this, maybe in 60 days, 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, because there's things that we should come back and report to the attendees, and they may have things as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamath.
And Dr. Kamath had an idea of starting a conference
Yes.
Twice
In
a year. He was willing to do a conference in India,
Yeah.
bringing all the NGOs and best practices together, just like annual science congress. We can have an annual rural technology
Development
science congress. So
technology.
great idea, and we'll take up that with you.
Thank you.
Speaker Saab, Secretary Saab.
As far as I am concerned, I would endorse the view of Mr. Patki that entrepreneurship model is the future. Those days of grants and subsidies under various government of India schemes or state government schemes, I think it will not last beyond the next 5 years or so. It has to change, and the world is changing. Similarly, our institutions, they will need to be trained to handle even sort of contracts which are legally binding, wherein the ways in which different ways in which companies can work, even it can be a social enterprise company, not for profit company, but that thinking has to set in. And once that sets in, that will open the doors for future development. So that is, I think, that strong grinding in contract management, in executing contracts, implementing contracts, building up that legal sort of system, putting in place that will be a challenge before government of India as well as the state governments and the different departments. So, and sort of fomenting or facilitating or developing budding entrepreneurs to undertake various works relating to all these spheres. So, and using technology as a sort of input. The idea regarding setting up Institute of Eminence, in principle, I don't see any reasons why one should have any objection to that. We will be open to sort of getting more details on this idea. What would be the role of various stakeholders? And of course, it is something which would require wider consultation and ultimately maybe even a decision at the level of at union cabinet. But those things can be sort of explored, and but conceptually, there's nothing wrong in that. Similarly, the idea of having all these people, all stakeholders, whether those are NGOs, whether those are companies, whether those are technology providers, coming together and sharing their views, and also getting these panchayat people to interact and participate in these conferences, annual conference or biannual, twice a year conference, whatever. those things again can be developed, because people, my experience is that people are looking for ideas. If they find the ideas suitable, if they find the ideas good, people are willing to take the risk, more so in rural areas. They are willing to take the risk. In fact, the farmers every year, they are taking a risk every season when they will go in for a new seed variety, just because they see that it has worked for someone else. So that thing is there. So I think these are ideas which we need to work upon, and I'm sure that's the suggestion which was made, that we should have a follow-up session. And all these ideas will require greater discussion, and I'm sure Ambassador Pradeep Kapur would take the initiative. He has the knowledge of working in government and how it can be carried forward, and we look forward to taking these ideas forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your larger picture, all of you. And I think that we all need to take these models, successful models, and make it scalable, and whatever it takes to do it, whether it's conferences or best practices sharing, or it's working with the public-private partnerships and creating these partnerships and training the people to be entrepreneurs. All that is.
Smita, just before you conclude,
Okay.
one quick comment since Secretary Saab is here. There are a lot of comments in the chat box and questions about startups and entrepreneurship in the rural areas. One model which Wheels has found very successful, I would just like to narrate here very quickly in a minute for the benefit of all the participants and the panelists, is where we took the IIT Bombay and IIT Gandhinagar students, 120 of the students, to Aravalli project of Wheels Global Foundation. We discussed with the IIT faculty. We said that you have to give them some credits to the students. Then they will get interested. So 120 students signed up with credits as project in the rural areas. They came, they stayed there, they interacted with the villagers, they sort of empathized with them, they got enthused, encouraged, and finally they put together 26 business proposals as startup ideas for the rural community, along with support by either the students of the IITs or sponsored by Wheels and other organizations. 2 of those ideas were immediately implemented. One of those ideas has already got the national award at the national level, which is on biogas carpas project, where they use biomaterial for making logs, like we are seeing a lot of cremations today. So to save on wood as fuel for cremations and for other purposes, using bio waste for that purpose, which is longer lasting, longer burning, and more efficient and effective. So that has got the national award also. So that sort of template is also useful, which we can give a platform for and encourage more and more. There are still 20 odd projects still to be implemented, which need some little more support and work. But this is one template. If we are able to get the best minds in the country at the youth level, as college people under the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan or whatever format the government of India thinks, in collaboration with the NGOs, because then we have a permanent constituency amongst this youth for the future, who are now, out of these 120, quite a few got interested in rural development, even as a vocation, and some of them wanted to embark on it as a career from day one. So if that sort of outcome is there, for me, it is very encouraging. Thank you.
Extremely useful concept of involving youth and getting a pipeline of ideas that actually can be implemented in rural enterprises. So a lot to talk about, a lot of excitement here, I must say. At least for me, I felt there was a lot to learn. I hope all of you did. So thank you everybody for attending, staying with us a little longer, and wherever you are, it's getting late in India, I know, but thank you for joining. And thanks to Honorary Secretary Sunil Kumarji, Ambassador Kapur, Dr. Sundar Kamath ji, and Mr. Sanjay Patki ji for sharing your thoughts and your time and expertise. Very insightful remarks. A link to today's event and recording is on our website, as we said, wheelsglobal.org, where there's also a donate button. I don't want to forget. Anybody who wants to donate can please do, because we are a volunteer organization trying to make the change. So need every support we can get. Finally, thanks to all of you attendees for our webinar, and hope to see you in the next one on May 21st. And of course, the following one for this one. So watch for our emails, our Facebook for details, and wish everybody stay safe, keep well, enjoy the rest of the week. Thanks.
And Smita ji, if I could say, let us pray for those who are suffering in India from the COVID.
Absolutely.
Along
absolutely.
with the
Our
donations.
thoughts and prayers
Yes.
are with you all, and hopefully help is on the way from all corners of the world. Thank you. Namaskar. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, we will now run the slide presentation again. For those of you who missed it in the beginning, can stay on and look at that. Thank you, everybody.